right, Sandra. Beijing now trying to walk back controversial comments that were made by its ambassador to France, who suggested that former Soviet countries like Ukraine, Latvia, Lithuania are not sovereign nations at all. They're not actually independent, raising questions about China's intentions for Taiwan. The comments coming just days after French President Emmanuel Macron visited China on a state visit. And as the Wall Street Journal puts it, China spotted weakness with France and has embarrassed Macron. Let's bring in Morgan Ortagus, former State Department spokesperson and Polaris National Security founder. Morgan, good to have you back after your deployment. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, John. Good to be back.
So the statement from China's ambassador to France is one thing. The Chinese foreign ministry tried to walk it back to say, oh, no. We believe that these countries are, in fact, sovereign. But it seems to me as though the ambassador to France kind of said the quiet part out loud here.
You're taking the words out of my mouth, John. That's literally what I was going to say. I mean, this has been the concern from Europe and from Western nations because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Crimea first in the Obama administration, and now Ukraine. You know, the worry is that China, we also know, sees Taiwan similar to how Putin sees Ukraine, would feel emboldened and be able to attack Taiwan and perhaps take it militarily. But it's also important to remember, we talk a lot about Taiwan, as we should. There are other disputed territories that China wants to get their hands on, right? There's disputed islands in the Western Pacific with Japan. There's also disputed lands with India that China and India have clashed over. So you've got Russia and China. What if they promised each other? If we look at the big picture, Xi Jinping and Putin, about, what was it, a month ago when they met together, promised a no-limits partnership. They said, and I'm paraphrasing, that there was going to be a change in the world order that the world had not seen in 100 years. So it's very important for us to note that the relationship between Xi Jinping and between Putin are stronger than ever. So whenever you see a Chinese ambassador, when you see a representative like that, effectively saying that the former Soviet states, the Baltic states, the Central Asian states, aren't actually sovereign under international law, you said it correctly. They're saying the quiet part out loud, and the two of them, Russia and China, want to behave like old school imperialists from another era.
Yeah, the Lithuanian Foreign Minister Gabrielius Landsbergis didn't like that at all. He tweeted, quote, "If anyone is still wondering why the Baltic states don't trust China to broker peace in Ukraine, here's a Chinese ambassador arguing that Crimea is Russia and is Russian, that our country's borders have no legal basis." You know, we talked about Emmanuel Macron making a state visit to Beijing, in which he said, hey, look, you know, Europe really shouldn't take side in this Taiwan issue. And meantime, Xi Jinping, maybe you could be an honest broker and try to bring an end to the Ukraine conflict. Macron is trying to sell Airbus jetliners to China, which you point out in an op-ed in the Washington Examiner, could easily be converted to dual use.
Well, the helicopters that they're selling really could. It's the helicopters that I think would be most applicable in a Taiwan scenario for a dual use. And that's why American businesses, for the most part, do not do business with the PLA, with the People's Liberation Army, because you don't want the Chinese to have that sort of infrastructure. Listen, but going back to Macron, John, you know, his foray onto the world stage with Xi Jinping was an epic disaster for many reasons that you just talked about. But one of the important things for us to remember, and by the way, European politicians should remember this, and some American politicians, capitulating or trying to be nice to Xi Jinping or Putin gets you nowhere. These are autocrats. These are essentially thugs. They have imperialistic tendencies and behavior. They want to take land that they think is theirs just because they're the big guy. And so, you know, what did Macron do? He goes to Asia. He goes to China, cozies up to Xi Jinping, and what does he get for it? Embarrassed.
All right. Morgan, great to have you back. We really appreciate it. We'll see you again.